Welcome to No Free Lunch, Africa's freshest business and tech podcast with me, your host, Greg Stewart. And today's podcast brings a very news-focused interview with the co-founder of one of South Africa's most interesting startups, JEM. And JEM has just announced a successful Series A round funding of $8.4 million. Nothing to sniff at today. And after initial seed funding round of around $2 million in 2022. And with me in studio is co-founder and CEO of JEM, Simon Ellis. Welcome to No Free Lunch, Simon.
Thank you, Greg. Excited to be here.
So just as a bit of background, you're actually a CA, aren't you? And I believe you studied at Stellies and went and spent some time overseas working for, I think it was Deloitte, if I remember my facts correctly. And what drove you down the entrepreneur path? What brought you to a completely different direction in your career?
I'm a recovering CA. I actually don't like the term CA, and I think that the profession is overhyped. I studied accounting, took a gap year, and then worked and lived in London. I worked on what sounds like really exciting stuff. I say private equity-backed deals in Deloitte London, but the reality is auditing isn't the most riveting stuff. And I got very early into my career. I got very lucky to be a part of a bunch of small teams working on some cool projects. Interestingly, at around the time I joined Deloitte in London, it was the startup scene was picking up, and you could invest in startups with a very small amount, and that's really when I got the taste of entrepreneurship. So I made my first angel investment in 2016, and that gave me a glimpse into what it was like to build a business. And I set my sights on trying to do it myself, with a bunch of failures along the way.
Yeah, look, that's part of the journey, isn't it? Is that we learn often best from those failures, and those failures actually become building stones for future, successes. And if you approach it in the right way, as clearly you have, it really does help you, because it gives you a completely different perspective, doesn't it?
It does. I think, interestingly, one of the biggest learnings from my failures was not persisting long enough. I felt, you kind of read a lot in the news that things happen overnight, and it seems like everyone's an overnight success. And I think I just simply didn't spend enough time on the ventures or the ideas. You have to persist through those first few years. Yes. I joked to my team a month or two ago, it's been the 19th of July, 2019 was when the idea for JEM was seeded, which was a lunch with a friend of mine who was investing in a business called WageStream in the UK, now called Stream. And if you think of where that is exactly 8 years on, or 7 years on from today. It's a long time ago.
Yeah. And I think, part of that lesson is the fact that you need to be able to shift focus where needed, and also to be able to bring the right people on board. And clearly that's what you've done well in your latest venture. You raised the seed round in 22, if I'm correct. That gave you the building blocks to start. But you need the right people. You need the right skills base. You need the right mentality to come alongside with you. And clearly that's what you've built within your company. So congratulations on that.
Hasn't been a straight line. That's one thing I will say. We had the wrong people. We had the wrong products. We had the wrong business model. We kind of made every mistake that one could make. But in the last 2 years, things have really changed. We've listened to our customers. We've brought on an incredible team. We've sharpened our positioning. We've got our pricing right. And the market has responded incredibly well. And so our customers are really starting to feel that we are creating an immense amount of value for them. And in the process, we're growing the business because of it.
And certainly from the numbers that I see, that market fit has definitely happened. I think it's 250,000 staff, and your platform specifically targets workforces that are non-desk workforces, people out in the field, out in retail, who aren't sitting behind a desk and don't have email necessarily at their fingertips. And so you've built something completely unique, I think, in the South African space. And that obviously has found good fit. You've got great customers. Some of the, testimonials on your website, I hope, are true. But if they are true, certainly it's made quite an impact to those businesses. Talk to us a bit about that and how you got to that point.
One of the things we didn't do very well early on was obsess over our customers. And we changed that in 2022, and it actually became a principle of the business. But I'll give you a good context. I'm sitting in Saturn Gate, which is in Johannesburg here. When I drive into this building, the security guards downstairs are from Stallion. They are JEM, so that they use JEM. If I go upstairs and have my coffee, it's from Seattle. They use JEM. If I go across the road to McDonald's, they use JEM. Every single person that we come across on a day-to-day basis who we take for granted, the security guard, the cleaner, the barista, all of them are deskless, and they make up 75% of South Africa's workforce. We have not, or the world has not built technology to serve them effectively. And so there's this huge gap to create technology that's accessible, that's easy to use, and that can create an immense amount of value. And so when we listened to what our customers wanted, it actually became very, very clear. It's obviously clear in retrospect, and that's been a big change for us. We obsess over trying to understand where the world is going. It's why we've gone deep on AI, but it's also obsessing over what our customers need. And I think the future is going to be very exciting for those that can see it. But again, it comes down to one thing: obsessing over how you can create value for your customers.
Yeah. And clearly that's had an impact to people, to companies' bottom line. I was reading that one of your clients is a cleaning group. Obviously, you have a lot of workers out in the field, and it is understandable. They've got thousands of employees, and their testimonial was something about the fact that it had saved them around 6 million rand just in administration costs alone. And those are the things that often get neglected. It's like, you've got thousands of staff. Everyone needs a pay slip. Everyone needs to fill in a leave form. Everyone needs to, submit a sick note. Or there's so many different things. They want to know how much leave is due to them. They want their annual appraisal, access to all sorts of things. They want how to engage with those people on a daily basis, how to communicate with them, how to make things clear to such a big workforce in an easy way. And you've chosen a great platform. WhatsApp is ubiquitous today. It's everywhere. Almost everyone, even basic smartphones, can utilize WhatsApp, and that makes for a very exciting platform, because the opportunity now with your raise, I would imagine, is not just about improving the product, but scalability.
Just to touch on like the ease of use in the platform. So we signed a security business last week. It's got 2,700 staff. They decided to launch yesterday. So we kind of integrated and got live within 3 or 4 days. And by this morning, we have 40% of their 2,700 people registered using the product. That shows you product market fit. You don't get adoption like that when something is difficult to use or there's tension or friction. And so I think what the raise allows us to do is use this unique distribution channel that we've created, where we've combined accessibility and utility, accessibility being WhatsApp and utility being multiple reasons to be there, with the ability to scale the value we can create. Why should an individual not get access to fair credit? Why should an individual not get access to great training and education? Why should an individual be excluded from the financial system? We can solve multiple problems on both the employer side and the employee side with a very simple and accessible channel, which is WhatsApp, to solve those problems. So we're very excited. We are launching across a number of countries in Africa. We have some really cool companies that are scaling with us across Africa. And so what the raise allows us to do is really two things. One, scale the reach, so outside of South Africa, and two, scale the depth of product that we can offer to both employers and employees.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you about the scaling across Africa, because there's massive opportunity. And obviously, even operations like mining and agriculture and so on, all of these people also, need administration services. And so this seems to be a very good fit for that. What about the legal side? Because obviously there's different legal requirements in different jurisdictions. Have you addressed that?
So we've essentially got two parts of the business. You've got an enterprise SaaS platform, if you want to call it that, or SaaS/AI platform, which is where we integrate technology and we deliver basically HR products and operational products to the employer. That's where we've got an HRIS, we will build an LMS, we're building out. Basically, it's a workforce operating system. JEM plans to be the one place to help you connect and manage your workforce. And then you've got the financial services part of the business, which is where the reward piece comes in. To answer your question, the reward piece, the financial services piece, is very much based on the jurisdiction. So in South Africa, we've got to integrate with the banks. We have to understand the legal implications of that. But to scale the HR piece, it's very easy. Every country across Africa WhatsApp is the predominant channel. So we are in 7 other countries in Africa. We just haven't focused on going outside of South Africa at this point. What's happening is that the customers that we currently serve that have workforces outside of South Africa are taking us there.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting. There is now a real pull from the market to say, can we launch in that market? And interestingly, today, off the back of the raise, we've had a bunch of inbounds from businesses outside of South Africa looking for our product.
I think that's super exciting. And that really is a lesson for entrepreneurs to say, if you're going to go and look for clients that ultimately are going to help you scale later on down the road. And if, as you say, you've obsessed over delivering for them, obviously they're going to want that product elsewhere because it's working. So you've done a fabulous job, and the fundraise, I hope, will be more than just a fundraise. It'll be a springboard for the company to grow and expand well into Africa. Just on the fundraise, was it an equity raise or was it a debt raise?
So it was equity raise. We raised a portion of it at the end of last year, and then the rest of it this year, led by Quona, which is an emerging market fintech VC, with a bunch of other investors, including E4E, Next 176, Future Growth, and importantly, the University Technology Fund, who have been incredible backers.
Well, I hope you and your co-founders have managed to retain enough of your equity that when your IPO comes along one day, you'll be sitting pretty, because that's the other lesson.
I think the important thing is like the fundraise announcement is while it's nice to talk about raising money is going to allow us to scale impact. So we have now, and I said this to the team last week, there are literally no excuses. We have capital, we have the right team, we have the right product, and we have a market that needs this thing. If we stuff it up from here, it's totally on us. And so obviously we don't plan to. But we have the opportunity of a lifetime to take advantage of this new world we're going into with AI, a market that desperately needs the products that we're building, and a team so excited and so pumped up to actually do this. So I'm very excited about where we're going, and I hope that we can make the most of this moment.
And do you see the company going into additional products, additional services? What's the future of that look like?
We've actually got a whole host of new products that are in beta. And so we've launched an MCP, which allows businesses to actually control JEM through Claude or ChatGPT. We have launched an HRIS, so basically we're moving into HR. We've launched time and attendance and rostering, JEM Mobile, and EAP, credit scoring. So there's a whole host of products. Our firm belief is that the winner in this category will be the business that manages to solve the most amount of problems for one employer. Employers in the future will no longer want 6 or 7 providers to help them connect, manage, and reward their workforce. They will want one provider. JEM plans to be that.
I think that's an absolutely amazing perspective and a lesson that entrepreneurs should actually take cognizance of. And so congratulations, Simon Ellis, to you and your team. And I truly and completely wish you and your team every success going into the future. And I hope that we have very interesting conversations in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Greg.